Oh, there. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ifama Dupoy, and I'm here with Iale Colette this morning, and we are having an African spiritual conversation. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. How are you this morning, Ia?
Oh, I'm fine. The sun is shining brightly. I'm able to get out in the sun, get my vitamin D. So I'm well. I'm kicking. Still kicking.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for being here with me this morning. I was talking with Mama Ro earlier, and for some reason, I just got a lot of fire on me this morning, in my heart and in my head. I got so fired up in like 5 minutes, like even my chest was hot. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I know I probably watched that video of that brother being assaulted by those, well, killed by those police officers, maybe too many times, even though I was trying not to. Uh,
Hmm.
all over social media, and then they are trying to open up outside prematurely, so the people are
Yes.
starting to flood the streets, and under misconceptions, and the numbers in California actually went up yesterday. So
Mm, okay.
yeah, it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on.
Well, they are doing a partial openings here, and they started on the 2nd of May.
Hmm.
And actually, I believe it's going fairly well. But that night, May 2nd, I suppose that was Saturday night. Um, people just started acting crazy. They were congregating and having parties, and they wanted to go to the club, they wanted to get drunk, and they were,
Yeah.
how we do.
Yeah.
And they had to say, if this is how it's going to be, then we're going to have to lock down again. So but the thing about that is, you have to realize, if you hem it's just like, if you got a rat in your house and you hem him up in the corner and you got a broom, you better watch your neck, because that rat, you can have a broom if you want. That rat's going to go for the jugular.
Right.
Even a cat will do that. I've seen cats do that. So you hem up a whole lot of black people for a good while. Black, white, don't matter.
Uh,
When you let them loose, I mean, they're going to act the fool.
yeah.
Everybody knows that. You know that from when you graduate from high school, and you have that prom or whatever. That night, everybody acts crazy. If you go to jail and you come out that night or the next night, you go crazy.
Yeah.
People do that. We're not meant to be hemmed up like we hem up animals, which is a bad thing to do in and of itself. So it doesn't surprise me that if they're going to lift some of those restrictions, they have to realize people are going to act the fool,
Yes. Yes.
and then they'll be okay. But my concern is that we don't go back to where we came from.
Right.
I don't think you can ever go back to that exactly. You've got to move forward in some ways, but I hope that we are consciously moving forward and realize that um, we we got a lot of work to do. We got to get away from a lot of ah. We've got to get back, Sankofa. We've got
Hmm.
to go back and fetch all of that good stuff. Now, it's not to say
Yeah.
everything was perfect, but
Yeah.
fetch what our ancestors left for us, our remedies of healing ourselves, and our spiritual remedies the herbs and the spiritual pieces that we can use to put outside of our houses to make sure that no negative energy or no sickness or uh, any of that comes into our spiritual and our home space. Those are things that we have done for centuries and centuries and hundreds of centuries. And we've learned those things. And with this new Europeanized society in which we find ourselves, we have let a lot of that go by the wayside because, of course, they're afraid of it. So they tell us that it's demonic, and we, like fools, believe them. It's not demonic. It's the way you heal yourself or the way you keep danger from your door and from around your person. Um, so, yeah, long story short, things are going to change. They always do. And we just have to flow like the river and the ocean. Flow with the motion. Go with it. Don't fight against the tide.
No. Yeah. We also so we talked about water on day before yesterday. I wasn't with you yesterday, but day before yesterday. And one of the things, like, that's a cleansing agent, and it pulls things off you energetically. And something as simple as a Epsom salt bath make a world of difference. And then also there are herbs that you can make a spiritual bath. Even if you don't have a bathtub, you can put in a bottle, and when you finish showering, you can clean yourself off with those herbs. It's because you have a physical body and you have a spiritual body, so you want to make sure both things are clean. But can you talk about some of the ways that people can begin to make themselves be more present? Because I think part of the reason why bad choices are made or questionable choices are made during this time, where people are going out, is maybe you have to go out for work or to get food for your family or whatever the case may be. And instead of being careful, like, we're going back to habits that make us more vulnerable to things. Like, if you are high or drunk and in public, chances are you're not being as careful as you should be, and you're not as present to what you're doing. So you'll do something like touch something and that's public, and then put your hands in your face, or or engage in behavior that's not safe. So what are some of the things that you do, or some of the things that you recommend that people can do, to keep themselves centered and aligned?
One thing that comes to mind right away is, and this is something that we have taught our children from birth, I would hope, and that is to wash your hands. You if you go to the bathroom, the sink is right there, go wash your hands. You know what I mean? And I mean, wash them good. That's one of the things. But to stay present is to, I think, being quarantined, my hope is that people went into themselves, they went into their hearts and their minds, and began to really think deeply about how we have been living as a society, and not so much to blame or to shame, but to see clearly what we have been doing and then make a pact with yourself that you are going to do better. And the other thing is to have those conversations with others in your household so that there is a modicum of accountability there. In other words, everyone in the household or whoever wants to be a part has come to the realization that we have to at least grow a tomato
Mm.
at least, because our children don't even know what a tomato really tastes like. Because these things that they got now, that's I don't know where they get them from or how they fix them or make them. But I want a tomato that comes out of the ground
Right.
on a vine that
Mhm.
I grew. I'm really anxious to do that. I want
Yeah.
some chickens. I want to be able to get my own eggs from my chickens and
Yeah.
and have that. Um, so if we have some measurement for accountability within our own homes, we can
Uh-huh.
begin to make this change. Um, we need to be present in our work environments. Now, that's not easy because in many cases, we answer to other people. But there are certain things that we can do. First of all, we got to stand up for ourselves.
That's it.
They have us so wrapped up in a job. And now you see how fleeting that is? Mm.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yep.
got us so wrapped up in a job, quite understandably. You gotta pay your bills and you have to maintain yourself and your family. But I think this has also helped people to begin to think about what they can do that they're good at and that they enjoy,
Yes.
rather than I'm going to be an accountant because it pays this, that, and the other, and I can't stand counting them goddamn beans when I got to go to a company and review their annuals or their books.
Yeah.
That's I don't like it, but it pays the bills. But during this time, I've been able to um, finish my book, or I've been able to work on some macrame,
Mm.
or whatever your joy is and your skill is. I've been able to make some leather goods because I
Yeah.
love that. Um, so I would hope that people will continue to follow their own dreams and their own paths and establish their own businesses. And then we, as Black folk, must support one another.
That's it.
Um, we don't do that enough. And I think that this quarantine time has put in
Mm-hmm.
front of us that uh, we depend on the system to provide us with so much. But there are things that Black folk are doing, and we
Mm.
need to put our dollars in their coffers. And
Yeah.
the Black people who are doing something and receiving um, being supported by the Black community or whatever community, because I want them to be supported by everybody. But for
Mm-hmm.
those folks who are doing that and have a business, make your business the best you can. Don't shortchange your own people. See, now that's something that we got.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do
Yeah.
that. We do
Yeah.
that. Like, we got to be honest and open about it and transparent. We do
Yeah.
that. We don't give ourselves the best. Um, even even when you're working, let's say for a bureaucratic system or company like DMV or IRS or any of those other acronyms,
Yeah.
government. Why is it that you treat your own people worse than you treat the white man coming in the door or the Asian man coming in the door? We must treat each other like brothers and sisters. And if we have a black person there, we must be as courteous and as attentive to them as we possibly can. Um, we've got to learn that. I don't know where we lost that. How
You know
we
what? I want to just not to cut you off, Eva.
now
I
go
want to
ahead.
say
Go ahead.
that you that's a good point that leads me to the thought of respect as a spiritual principle. Um,
Hmm.
the opportunity that we have to respect each other, even in doing business and just in general, is really an opportunity for us to respect ourselves because respect, that the action of respect is to look at something again and reassess its value as it pertains to ourselves. And
Hmm.
so, if we're able to take that extra time in self-examination, now I think that it will result in the saving of some lives too. Because
Hmm.
one of the things that we're seeing is a tendency to think of this COVID situation as a political situation, um, as a racial situation, and those are all issues that we're dealing with as a part of the situation. But what is it for each of us individually on a spiritual level? It is a part of our spiritual journey in these bodies on this earth.
Hmm.
We're all experiencing it together, and there are some we're beginning to overlook in our excitement with the spring coming and the weather getting warmer and getting the cabin fever and wanting to reconnect with the people that we love and the lack of human touch. These are all influences. These are all things that are influencing our decision making process. But at the end of the day, we have to respect ourselves. We have an opportunity to look again at ourselves as divine beings and realize that we came here with a thing to do. You know what I mean? We came here with a destiny. And I don't even want to say it's a thing to do, but more so a thing to be. More so a journey of self-realization so that we become even more ourselves, even more our divine selves, that we connect closer and we really understand who we are. And these are the things that the ritual and African tradition um, helps that process along. But can you talk a little bit about the journey from within our own consciousness, the journey from Pisces to Aquarius, the journey of, because this is a critical, I think, crossroads for us as individuals in our own spiritual development, being able to move from the idea of them and us into a more holistic view of the world, to really be able to place ourselves in it in our own divinity, and be able to really see the world that way and move from our power and therefore in our own best interests.
Uh, it's almost ironic that um, you're starting on this road because my first note for today was our interconnectedness permeates everything that we say and do.
Okay.
Um, uh, Even or especially our healing. We're interconnected with, we don't heal just from go to the doctor and get some medicine. That's hasn't proven to be very worthwhile for us, especially Black folk.
Right.
We heal from a perspective of a holistic perspective. Our mind must be on healing ourselves, because you can go to the doctor or you can go to a healer, whatever name you want to give, but you really heal yourself. If you do not wish to heal yourself, I don't care what they do, you're not going to get better. It's something that you have to desire. It's a need if you want to stay alive. But you have to want to heal yourself. You have to take the spiritual piece, because as above, Hermetic law, as above, so below. So if something is happening with you, it's not only happening on the physical plane, but on the spiritual and the mental plane as well. So we have to connect all of that together. And that's how African or traditional African spiritual healing took place. Not only spiritual, just healing took place. We look at the whole person and what's going on with them, not just the physical piece. Well, even Chinese medicine does that, and they do it very well, I must say. So, yeah, interconnectedness, our interconnectedness, just in our living, in our lives, we have to understand that it's not just us, the one person. It's either me or you, or this one or that one. That's Piscean thinking, those fish going in opposite direction. That's not where we're going as the cosmos changes and as we change with the cosmos. So we're going to have to begin to flow like the waters. We're in the very, very, very beginning of the time of Aquarius, and we're going to have to flow like the river. It's interesting that this is Oshun's year with Obatala. I find that extremely interesting. She's not playing. She's kicking our butts royally. She really is. And when it first, in January, when the reading came out, I said, oh, this is going to be such a wealthy year and such a beautiful year, and sweetness and all of that. And that may be in December. But right now, she's kicking our butts. So I tell you that. So yeah, I wrote down interconnectedness with our healing, with our mourning, because a lot of people are at that place of mourning for their loved ones who have crossed over. But we mourn as a community. That's why we have funerals, and you have your friends and your family there. It's for the people who are living, but we mourn together. And you were talking about our tears, and our tears are so very important to cleanse us, not only physically but emotionally. It's like sometimes you just got to break right on down. It might even take you falling to your knees and crying out for help. But it's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why we sometimes think that that's a weakness. That doesn't show weakness. That shows unbelievable courage to say, I can't do it all by myself. I need help.
I think
Go
it's
ahead.
because our mistake about vulnerability, like we like to say, that's kind of a catchphrase. Our greatest power is in our vulnerability. I think the part that's not really said very often is that when your body and your emotions and the physicality of yourself, which your emotions are a part of your human experience, um, when that part of you is vulnerable, it cracks you open in a way that lets your divinity loose. It exposes that part of you, and if you are not um, if you are conscious of the fact that you are also divine, then what happens is you are then releasing your humanity and saying, I'm gonna let the divine part of myself run the show.
Yeah.
And there's tears there because we hold tight to that. We hold tight to the physical facade. We hold tight to our humanity, but it is a facade.
Yes.
Basically, this is the vehicle that you're using to get your divinity around in the earth. And if you are conscious of the fact that your divinity is the bigger part of yourself, then you will see that when you're in a posture like crying, or sometimes you can have a soul cry where you just you know what I mean,
That snotty
your
cry.
body and your
Yeah.
everything is done, like it's just
Hmm.
get it off of me, whatever it is. Really what it is you getting out of the way to
Hmm.
let the divine part of you do its thing. That for people who are initiated and have pots of any kind or shrines of any kind, if you're in that part of your prayer and you take a tear and put it on your shrine, uh, watch what happens. Just watch what
Okay.
happens. It's going to
Okay.
evolve very quickly because that's powerful. That is so powerful when that comes out within you. I think the part of us that's scared to allow that is not really letting go of, not placing our humanity in proper perspective. Um,
Hmm.
there's a pair.
Oh dear, you froze. Uh, I don't know.
That says the head should
Dear.
lead. My divine head is what determines the action, the appropriate action for me. And this is why I am so, this year especially, I'm pushing this message out of myself that is and through myself. I'm initiating myself in a sense to say, stop doing things from outside motivation and wait for yourself to be moved from your divinity. Wait for the inspiration, wait for the intuition, wait for the information that way. Stop, because I like to work. I like to get it in. So I'm gonna just do. But that means that you're busy and tired. It doesn't mean that you're effective. It doesn't make you
Exactly.
smarter. It don't make you more productive necessarily. And then you may be producing a lot of things, but are they going to help you, or are you just running? That's a part of the cellular memory of slavery. It's like, get up, go to work, do it, get it done, get it done, get it done. How much cotton can you pick? But I
Hmm.
mean, at a certain point, at a
Hmm.
certain point, get off the plantation.
Hmm.
You know,
The,
even when
yeah.
you're working for yourself, you can turn it into a plantation if you want to. But
Yeah. The
those divine
plant.
ideas. Huh? I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was going to say the plantation of your mind. Go ahead.
Yes.
Hmm.
When the divine ideas come and you move on those, you'll have plenty of work to do. Trust me, it
Hmm.
won't be a situation where you'll be just sitting around thinking about something good. You'll have plenty of work to do when you're called to action, when the spirit moves you to do it, and then people criticize that, and that's fine if it's not for you. That's okay. But I know that it works. And
Hmm.
in this particular time, there may be something that you need to do outside of your home that's going to make you vulnerable to all of the things that are going on in the world right now. And I want you to make sure that you do it in the time that you are moved to do it. If you feel the urge to get up and go to the grocery store at 9 o'clock at night and the grocery store closed at 10, go then, because probably not gonna be that many people. Instead of your usual routine of getting up on Sunday when everybody gets up on Sunday and goes to the grocery store. So it's one of those things where that's something small. It's just a small example, but there are a million things that we do on other people's timetable just to get a certain look rather than following our own divine guidance. You have inner guidance, you have God positioning, you have intuition, you have Ori, which is your own divinity. That's your own Orisha right here in your head. And so let that be the way that you move.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well said. Thank you. Thank you. Very well said. I would also encourage folks to take the time to look at the mirror, look in the mirror, to really look at into your own eyes and see what's there. See what's there and be truthful about it and truthful with yourself in terms of how we have been conducting ourselves and how we have been living and how we have treated one another.
Yeah.
The other thing with looking in the mirror, and this is something that I'm a stickler about this. This is how I operate. You look in that mirror, but then you also look at yourself. This is like in the morning or at night when you're stepping out of the shower or stepping out of the tub, and take a look at yourself and give thanks for those feet that have carried you through this life, those legs that allow you to walk, those knees that can bend in genuflection, those thighs that bring you joy, that vagina or penis that allows you to fly and to create and to bring life, that stomach, those breasts that are nurturing, your arms, your hands, your fingers, your toes, your head, your nose, your eyes, you can see, you can hear, you can, as we bless each part of our body, the word respect, bless it and respect it.
I say.
It will work even harder for us. It will, that physical body allows us to have material experiences, and it houses our divinity. I like that word that you used when you said the divine and our divinity, even more so that, or in conjunction with the word spirit. I like the divinity. I'm going to use that. I'm telling you now. Give thanks for all that houses your divinity, because you need that in order to have the experiences that we must have so that we can elevate as I'm gone, as divine beings, or as that little spark of creative source.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that we're talking about all this stuff. A lot of this stuff I wrote in my notes for today. For today, connectedness and the mirror of self, Thanksgiving for your body. That was my note for today.
Oh,
Uh,
awesome.
yeah,
I'm
and
gonna say
we just kind of walked right on down that road.
yeah.
Mm,
It's a beautiful thing. And because, the tenant, I think ego will have you believe that um, an acknowledgement of your divinity sets you above anything. And we still have to or get to move around in the earth and have this experience, right? And the agreement that we made when we came here is that certain things, the body is vulnerable to certain things. Let's just keep it. If you get hit, I mean, the people, this is the thing, like, there's a lot of power in the tradition. And there are things that are possible that we don't necessarily know how to do. Some people know how to do them, some people don't. But I'm going to say for the masses of the people who are devotees, we don't have, that's not our go to understanding of the tradition. So I'm
mhm,
not going to say that it's not possible to get hit by a bus and not die, but for the majority of us, that's going to be the outcome. So let's be
mhm,
clear that there's suffering to be had should you, heaven forbid, contract COVID. There's suffering to be
mhm,
had. We know that there are people that that we're mourning the passing of those people. Elders, people who have had pre existing conditions, and just people who are walking around relatively healthy for the most part, as far as they knew and we knew. And
mhm,
we're mourning those people, they're gone. And there are people who have recovered, and there's people who, I mean, there's all kinds of, but they have, there, what the care that we should take at this time is not necessarily just for us, it's for all of, it's not for just you as an individual, it's for all of us as a community. Like, if we know that part of the respect as a spiritual principle is that when I look at you, I recognize then, if I forgot the last time that I looked at you and I look at you again, then I remember that we're made out of the same stuff. We are sourced from the same creator.
mhm,
And it doesn't matter if one of us is, you know, the high priest of this Orisha or that Orisha or Ifa or whatever, or we are carrying the Bible, or we are, observing Buddhist tradition, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, that's whatever.
mhm,
Whatever
mhm,
we have found ourselves doing at that time, then if I have to look again because I got distracted by something in humanity, and it's really your own humanity that distracts you, not the other person. It's your own humanity that gets you caught up in the idea that there's some separation that people have. There's a lot of people we made agreements with before we got here. Now when we get down here, you're not gonna be my partner no more.
mhm,
I need you to really put the screws to me, because I really got to learn this lesson. If that's what it takes for me to get it, I really need you to do this, and it's on display in front of the whole world. So we will get embarrassed. We will get. I mean, we have, these are all experiences that we all have as a part of our journey here in the earth. What I am asking people to do at this time is to really examine yourself and begin to understand that this is a shift that's going to happen. So you can resist it or not, but we're going to move out of this right, wrong, us, them, he, she. We're going to move out of that. It's going to
mhm,
happen into a more holistic way of living, a more holistic view. We're going to move away from the top down leadership. We're going to move into a more harmonious way of in guidance, and less than leadership, more so guidance. That's going to happen. So,
mhm,
however we want to structure and arrange and organize ourselves according to our own divinity, we all have a part to play. Even those of us who are dead set on resisting the change. That's a part of it. There has to be a pushback for every move forward. That's science. That's universal principle. You For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's a part of the thing. That way that the earth is made, that's what we experience, and that's fine. So everybody gets to play their part, but don't get caught up in somebody else's part. Because what that means is that you can have an opportunity to do it again. And it's never as good as the first time. Would you say that?
No.
It's never as good as the first time.
Yeah. Oh, I like the way you put it. We're moving from leadership into guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's it. That's really
That's huge
what.
because we can't look outside of ourselves for somebody to tell us what to do. That has to stop. If you recognize that you have divinity within yourself, then also recognize that there's guidance from that divinity. That you're not going to be left hanging with nothing. And if you don't know what it is, that's because you haven't been paying attention well enough. Or maybe you have enough information for what you're doing right now, and what you want is more, but ain't time yet.
Exactly. I know for many of us, we want to have that extraordinary spiritual or divine experience on a daily basis. And I know for myself, it just doesn't work that way. Most days are just normal days.
Yes.
And then every now and then you will have a divine day. Whatever that is that comes through for you, you will make contact with an ancestor and get really important messages, or sometimes you just feel within yourself you can almost touch your own divinity. Those are very rare times. You can see things or hear things or feel things that have you ever had those days when you look out into the world, or you look out to the sky or the trees, or it's usually in nature that I have this experience, and it's like the trees are green, but the green is spectacular.
It's glowing.
And the water is blue, but it's clear and sparkling and refreshing. And you know, the air is good, but the smell that you get from it is heavenly. Those things happen,
Yeah, they do.
but not every day, you know.
No.
And you have to be prepared for just the mundane, just the everyday thing. And those are the days when you have to be even more in tune with your own divinity, because those are the days. Go ahead. Go.
I found that there is something spectacular in what we call the mundane, and that is, and I think that I had this experience from, I don't want to overshare, but with the health challenges that I've had recently is really cemented that for me. Is that I always say gratitude is my superpower, and it is a superpower in a sense. For all of us, we have access to it. But my name is Ifeoma Dupe, which is divine. Clearly, it's got a special connection. But I found that when I began to have gratitude, like palpable gratitude for internal shifts, right? So there were days when I woke up and I was in pain to the degree that I couldn't walk well. and I would stand up, and I've never experienced not being able to stand up straight, but I couldn't. You know what I mean? I couldn't stand up straight. Either my body just um, wasn't cooperating with me, or it was just too much pain, or whatever the case. Anyway, um, that walking, taking a couple of steps, and then stopping myself, taking a deep breath. Not that anything changed in my body, but just I had an internal shift that was like, hey, we are here, we are alive, we are moving, we are grateful. You know what I mean? Just to just take that time to reflect on what is working, and be grateful. And then I had a shift, and as the day went on, I didn't even notice the moment that the pain disappeared, because I was already experiencing the gratitude of my body is here to support me. And pain is a signal that something, you're going in the wrong direction. It's like, hey, look, come on, stop, and this wrong direction is not necessarily a physical one. Often it's a direction of focus. Often it's a direction of thinking. Your body is here to support you on this journey. We talked about this before. I don't know if we were live, but I'll say that we give praise to our mothers and fathers first as our physical creators in the earth, because they did what was necessary for us to come forth in these bodies. But when you get down to it, your Ori, your own divine personal Godhead, created this body for what you had to do when you got here.
Exactly.
So in the womb, that's what was happening. Your mother lent her space to you so you could take the time it takes to create the body that was going to best support you in your journey here on earth. And so whatever came with that, however it showed up, then that you created that. And it's not necessarily, there's some things that aren't going to change the entire time you're here, for however long that is. It just, you got, you're working with what you're working with, you know what I mean? And so and for that, we have tons to be grateful for, but it is about those internal shifts. It's about the moment that you realize that what you've been asking for is coming towards you.
Yeah.
You feel it. You feel yourself attracting it to you. You feel the work being done on the other half, on your behalf, on the other side on your behalf. You feel your ancestors' support in getting your mind ready to receive your new situation, your next realization of yourself, your next situation that you've been wanting. If you find that things are stunted for you, or they're not moving the way that you want them to move, and then the minute that you recognize that part of yourself that needs to grow in order for you to receive that, the moment you shift into the space where you are welcoming it, rather than worried about it ain't gonna come, or is it gonna come, or is this gonna happen? Am I gonna be able to do this? The moment you recognize that you are perfectly crafted for that which you came here to do, those realizations are the real manifestations that we are after. And when we realize, then we can be grateful for all that we are, because we showed up.
Yeah.
We showed up this morning.
Yes.
We showed up, and then we make different choices as it pertains to we make different choices as it pertains to every area of our life. What we put in our body, where we go, how we move. And then when you get that feeling that this is not for you, that you can say, no, that's not for me. And then do your thing. You know what I mean? And do that which is meant for you. And this is so critical for us. And I know that we are, as women, we are thoroughly convinced by the time we're 10 that we should be focused on other people's comfort and happiness. rather than our own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm clear in my understanding that that is the disservice that's the largest disservice that we do, because
Yeah.
it's that same etiquette that allows a little girl to not want to be mean to someone who is aggressing her and then be
Exactly.
taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And if we look at the numbers, let's just look at the numbers. It's
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
working for us. It's not
No.
working for us. So we need to have another approach. We're going to have some innovative ideas come through. People are going to have to do that crime in order to get out of the way. We're going to have to get out of
Yeah.
the way of ourselves and begin to make those choices that honor our divinity.
Exactly, exactly. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking balance, balance, balance. We're out. We're so far out of balance that the pendulum has to swing back and get back into. We have to get back into alignment with who we are as um, divine. We have to get back to our own divinity. I'm
Yeah.
loving that word. Um, and if that will bring us, that's our center.
Yeah.
That's our core. And
Yeah.
that's our center. And we have to get there. We're very much out of alignment with our own divinity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, when you were speaking just now, um, earlier, I mentioned that we have to be grateful and thankful for every part of our body,
I say.
and that they all work in tandem with one another. And to give that gratitude as we look in the mirror. So many people have, I don't know why they feel that they don't want to look at themselves, their new body. I don't understand that too well. And my body has changed. And I remember going across the mirror and saying, "What was that? Everything used to be standing up real nice. Why is it not doing that?" you know? Um, and that wasn't that long ago. Also, when you were speaking, what came up for me, I learned this. You had your bout of illness. I had mine, and I I I've been lucky in that I was an extraordinarily healthy person. Um, it had been 40 years since this is not a nice thing to say, but it's the truth of the matter. 40 years since I have been to a doctor. I'm not a
Yeah.
doctor person. I'd
Right.
rather do my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this time it was, I had my own stuff wasn't working. So it had been 40 years. And what I learned going through that whole process, and it was a fairly lengthy process. What I learned is that sometimes we have to be stripped down to the bone, to our very bone. We have to be vulnerable. Our bodies become
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable and they don't operate the way we're used to.
Yeah.
And when we're stripped down, we're in a bed and we can't you can't go to the bathroom by yourself. That's embarrassing. Um,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I do.
Or you can't walk. I know when I left the hospital, they gave me a walker. I said, "Now you got to be kidding."
Yeah,
But
they did that to me too. I couldn't believe
yeah,
it.
yeah, it was a bit, give me a break here.
What the
Um,
hell is happening?
yeah, but you're stripped down to your very bare bones so that your spirit, your Orisha, your Egun, your spirit guides, all of it can build you back up. They like
Yeah.
put all those parts back together and
Yeah.
help them to work in a new way,
Yes.
you know, in a new way that is even more connected to your
Yes.
divinity.
Let me tell you. Okay. I just had this picture in my mind of Eshu Odara.
Okay.
Because part of birthing an Eshu Odara is they set Eshu on fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Eshu Odara is usually the Eshu, the road of Eshu that you get when you go through an initiation. And
Mm-hmm.
so, well, Ifa initiation, I'll say it's very
Mm-hmm.
common to get the Eshu Odara. Um, and there's fire and transformation in Eshu Odara. And here's the thing, like at that crossroad, at that crossroad of being where you're down to your last, life has gotten you open to the bone, let's say. You know what I'm saying? Like you might as well give it up because it's not your fight anymore. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, that's Eshu. That road of Eshu lives right there with you. Is rocking with you right there to say, okay, now you can choose your divinity, and what will happen is that is the part of you that will grow back. So when you have a burn, like a third-degree burn or really bad burn, what they have you do is they have you clean off the top layer as it tries to heal from the outside in, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that in order for your skin to look similar to how it looked before, but it will be different. It's new skin. It needs to grow. It needs to heal from the bottom up. It needs to heal from the inside out. So
Mm-hmm.
you're wiping off that dead scab or skin that's covering it up, and every day you have to do that in order for it to heal properly. It has to heal from the inside out, and this is a part of that spiritual journey. That's what that reminds me of. Is that
Mm-hmm.
everything on the outside that you, this facade that you built onto yourself in order to cope or deal in the world is going to get burned down to the bone, and then it has to heal from the inside out. The beauty of it is that yes, this is the road of SU that's rocking with you. It's specifically designed for that transformation, and you will be okay. You're gonna make it. But you get to choose every day to clean off the top part and let it heal from the inside out. To re, it's not even so when we say healing, it makes it seem like we're going back to the last place that we were seeing. It's not that. It's a renewal of yourself. You're gonna get new. You're going to remanifest yourself. You're gonna become new. And so,
Yes.
yeah, and so you let your your Ori, your Egun, your Orishas, Ifa to support you in or however, however you call it,
Mm-hmm.
but your personal divinity, and out from there, the spirits that support you in your spiritual journey, to the deities that support you to rebuild you from the inside out, so that you
Mm-hmm.
are becoming more a divine being and less of the human subject to less of the humanity that you are. You're in both places all the time. So you think of your evolution as like giving birth. And when women give birth, they say they have one foot on the earth and one foot in heaven. And in
Mm-hmm.
order for you to come forth anew every time, you have to become more yourself in order to do whatever you're called to do at that time. You're going to have one foot on earth and one foot on the other side. And so know that you're well supported, and that's what the ritual is about. Even initiation is a part of a spiritual alchemy that allows you to prepare your humanity, to your consciousness, to travel with grace and ease from the seen to the unseen. You're going back and forth all the time. You're straddling the fence all the time. You're doing both things all the time. Everything that you're doing, you want to lend your ashe to, but ashe is the unseen force.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we want to lend our ashe to our physical activities because we're giving our power to what we're doing. And part of that is intention, being deliberate in our actions, not haphazard with ourselves. And that means as it pertains to other people, as it pertains to our work, as it pertains to our worship and our spiritual life, as it pertains to all these things, nothing gets to just be like, oh, I just did that, whatever. It's not like that. You the more that you realize within this physical existence your divinity, the more deliberate the things are. You gotta watch what you say. When you people, everybody want their words to have power. I want my prayers to manifest. I want to call on the Orisha. I want them to show up. I want to feel my ego, and I want to. Okay, that all of that's available. That also means that when you talk crazy about yourself to yourself,
yes,
that you're using that same power of your tongue. That
yes,
also means that when you talk crazy to your children, when you talk crazy to other people, when you say things about people, and you can go blah blah blah. You can go play in the freeway. You can go such such such. These are you. This the same tongue. It's the same. It's the same tongue. You only got one of those. So if you want it to be powerful, then it's going to be powerful. But with that power comes great responsibility. So be intentional and deliberate in your actions. Don't, we begin to more closely watch what we say, more closely watch what we see, the things that we ingest, and noticing that our perception is fine, and then in order that our processing happens on the inside, that we make a conscious decision of what to think of something. What does this mean? And then when we believe that and we act accordingly, it doesn't diminish our power at all. Whether or not we're wrong.
Yes.
Whether or not we're wrong, it doesn't diminish our power. So we still are working with the same dynamite that we've been working with. And if you sit on it and light it, it's going to blow you up. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Very well put. Very well put. Yeah. Our power is our power. Whether you know how to use it for good or let it just sit there, that's entirely up to you. And in hearing you speak about these things, it gives me great hope that it really lends itself to what I was saying about the cosmos and how we're evolving as human beings, because more and more people are coming not just to Ifa or the Yoruba way. They're coming to just, they're recognizing their own divinity.
Ashe.
And so they're following whatever their lineage may be. We're not all of the Yoruba lineage. Some of us are, Palos. Some of us are whatever. So as I hear you and I listen and I learn, I know that things are evolving. The minds and the hearts are opening. And it's not something that happens in a year or 2 years or 20 years or 100 years. The changes that we the transformation that we are going through. It's not the first time that human beings have gone through this transformation. We've done it for um, hundreds of thousands, if not more, millions of years. Um, but it takes time. It takes more than 200, 300, 400 years. We look back at what has happened to our people in the past 400, 500 years, and it seems like that's a long time. But if you put that on the continuum of human time as we calculate it, it's just a drop in the bucket. It's not really a long time. And so for us to get back to our rightful place and back to our rightful minds, our African minds, our holistic minds, that's going to take some time, but I see it. We see the march, we see the feet as they are upon, as Shu again, we see the feet as they are upon the road, marching and going towards a new day, a new world. We see that. Well, I see it.
Yes.
And yeah, so that's what I see. I see
Yeah.
progress.
Yes.
We've been up. We were talking about being broken down to our bare bones. Well,
Mm-hmm.
this pandemic, it didn't break us down to our bare bones though, because
No.
it could be much worse
Yeah.
than it is. Um, and if we don't listen, something else is in the works, because we're very hard headed, stubborn, stuck in our ways. And there are those of us who want to stay in this Piscean existence and mind. So I don't know if this is going to be what really breaks us down, but it's breaking some of us down. And it's
Mm-hmm.
starting folks to think with a more critical mind. Critical thinking has gone out the window, but it's beginning to come back. That's that guidance instead of leadership. Use your own critical thinking.
Yeah.
And yes. And the other thing, this is just my thing, it may, mean nothing to most people, but study, study and learn. Um, this existence, this time that we are in now is just a dot, and so much has happened before in our history. Um, Thousands of years ago, man existed. His mindset wasn't the same as ours because his experience wasn't the same as ours. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's important that we go back and look at that. For me and others who may be interested, it really is important for us to go back. Um, every 26,000 years, we go through the progression of the equinox. We go through all the houses, astrological houses, roughly 2,165 years for each house. Do you know how many times we've done that? Billions, millions, thousands at least of times we've gone through that 26,000 year progression. This is nothing new, except that um, the way we look at things, the way we process things, our focus is
Mm-hmm.
different
Yeah.
because of the times in which we live. I mean, whoever thought you would go to a grocery store and be able to pick up all of that processed stuff that we pick up all the time, and we give up. We eat. ourselves or give to our, whoever thought that there would be places like McDonald's and those kinds of places where you go and you get a hamburger that's, I don't go to McDonald's. Let me just say that to begin with, or Burger King or any of that. But um, I see that they have those hamburgers. Whoever had a hamburger is so thin you can hardly see that. Well, it's not meat, you know. So when you think of a civilization many thousands of years ago, they had fresh meat. None of us know how to. Well, yes, some of us in the tradition know how to slaughter a cow or a sheep or even
And
ring.
everybody who lives on the farm, a rural area, they know
Yes,
how to they know how to grow and slaughter food. They don't.
but
They have
but
never stopped.
they're few and far between these days.
Mhm. Yes.
You know, I'm a city girl. You know,
Me
I
too.
don't
Me too.
I don't know how to slaughter any animals. I can wring
Well,
the neck of a chicken
right.
and pluck it, but I don't like doing it. So if I can find somebody else to do it, I will. But anyway, we're changing, we're evolving, we're exactly
We
where we're
are.
supposed to be, even though it doesn't seem that way much of the time.
Yeah. I wanna say this because we're we're reaching our time.
Okay.
Just a couple things. One, we were just talking about people who live on the farm and the lifestyle, things that we can integrate into our urban living. And for people who are farmers and living on farms, if you know someone or if you are someone who is related to a farmer or impacted in any way by a farm, the part of the CARES package is also a grant for farmers and the people impacted by changes in the farming community. That means the employees to the family members to you related to or impacted in any way. There is, I think, the grant that they're giving to each individual is $250,000. I could be wrong on the amount, but it's in that range. So that's
Hmm.
worth applying for. Also, if you are just be good to yourself right now, please. Please
Hmm.
be good to yourself. Reclaim your value. If you do nothing else during this time, this is the mortality from this experience should teach us the value of our life. If we don't learn nothing else, that we should be reintroduced to the value of our lives. Black people have been dying at an alarming rate for a number of reasons. COVID is just the most recent, but the police have not stopped. We haven't received better medical care because we're in a pandemic. We're so so let's just remember and walk around with the understanding of our value. Let's be models of that as much as possible. And those of us who practice the tradition, we meet our divinity every day in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's Orisha, Loa, ancestor, whatever your piece of whatever your piece of God is, then you should be seeing yourself in that,
Hmm.
and recognizing that it deserves some acknowledgement, care, and veneration.
Yeah.
So to just pause if you have to. Don't worry about hurting somebody's feelings. Don't worry about your boss. Don't worry about don't even worry about your kids because they're not yours. You were the way they got into the earth, but they don't belong to you. And so they're in your care and keeping. And so the best thing that you can do for anyone that you love is to be clear about yourself. Be clear
Hmm.
about who you are and make sure that you are whole so that you are at least, at the very least, modeling it and at your best able to teach it in some way, shape, or form. Um, Ia, do you have anything to say?
Amen. I think you said it beautifully. Ashe and amen, and so it is to everything that you just said. Remember your own divinity. Mhm.
Yes, yes. Well, I think we're gonna go ahead and
Well, we'll see you tomorrow.
yeah.
I believe we have, I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, but we shall see.
Something wonderful, I hope.
Yeah, it will be something wonderful. Yeah, that's how we're going to look at it, and so that's what we expect. And if we expect it, the universe will provide it.